Welcome to episode 19 of Thrashcast. My name is Billy, and I'm here with my co-host Jim and Ken. How you guys doing today?
Good, sir.
Good.
Awesome.
All
Awesome.
right. All right. Sounds good. We got another cool topic today, as always. But first, a quick reminder where you can find Thrashcast. So, our website's www.horrormetalsounds.com. And of course, you can find us on YouTube, Horror Metal Sounds, at kenji.2864. And as always, a quick request, if I could, please subscribe to the channel if you like the content we do. It'll really help our channel get in front of some new eyes and grow, which is a welcomed thing. So, in terms of topics today, we announced it last week, but it's nuclear assault, and we are doing the Handle with Care album from 1989. And then also something pretty cool, right? Where we usually rank albums. So this time we're going to each provide 10 memorable concert experiences. So I think that'll be pretty cool. And of course, those following along on YouTube, please feel free and share some of your best experiences as well. That'll be interesting to read. So on to what's spinning and news section. Who'd like to start? Jim, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't have really any news actually, but
Okay.
I did pick up a couple of albums this week. I have some stuff on order. By the way, on Amazon it's Prime Days, so there's lots of good stuff on sale right now.
Did you find anything? I was peeking. Nothing was really on sale.
I got a couple some Axel Rudy Pell albums, some older stuff that
Cool.
I got like 10% off of or whatever, but hey, I'll take it. I'll get those in. But speaking of which, I picked up his new album, which is awesome, and it was on sale, so I got
Yeah.
that. Risen Symbol, his newest one. I mean, I absolutely love his albums. And I actually ordered the one prior to this one as well. Great album. It's got that kind of, it's got that great guitar sound to it. It's kind of got a bit of an 80s, a little bit of a different type of metal than I usually listen to, which is usually a bit more extreme thrash or death. And I also picked up Hammer King's new one. I mean,
Oh,
this one
awesome.
is König und Kaiser. So definitely cool. It was out a couple months ago, and I never really picked it up. I like this stuff. I mean, I'm sure probably Billy's seen them probably at Wacken or whatever. These guys are, huge in Europe, and I love that. I love that type of metal. So it's really cool that stuff like Powerwolf and stuff like that I supplement my thrash addiction with. So a couple of things that I'm spinning this week, and so that's pretty much it.
All right, cool. And Jim, didn't you get in a couple shows this week, or one show twice?
Yeah, I went and saw. Actually, good call. Yeah, I went and saw Svengali, their 1980s, well, actually 1990s Svengali at a bar just not far from my place here in Dartmouth. It was pretty cool. I mean, I believe they sold out both nights. I think it was like a 500 per night. So really good show. Some great. Just some great memories. They did all their hits. There was like an hour and almost 2 hours set. And then they did a bunch of covers like Ace of Spades and stuff like that afterwards. But I got to admit, the crowd was super into it. It was a hot summer night weekend, and it was awesome. So we had a great time. And I should have brought it with me. I got my CD signed, their new one. That they released. I picked it up there and they signed it for me. I got to meet the
Cool.
guys, and they're pretty cool guys. But yeah, it was a great
Cool.
show. And I saw them back in 1990. I think it would have been January at the Old Misty Moon, which was a big concert venue bar in Halifax, where I saw like George Thorogood. A lot of bands, Slick Toxic, Lee Aaron. I saw a Glass Tiger, all the sort of 80s and early 90s bands there. would play there. It was about about 1,000 seater. It was 2 levels. It was pretty cool. So there was kind of a reunion show for them. And then they had a band called the Jack Butler Band that reunited for Saturday night to come back, and that was the two bands that played that show in January of 1990. So it was kind of neat. It was really cool, really cool.
So Jim, are you putting that show that you saw in your top 10 tonight?
No, I mean, I haven't seen as many shows as you guys, or many different genres of shows, because we only get so many here. But no, I got some really good stuff. Unfortunately, many of it's older, but there's when Halifax was more on the concert sort of, when gas was 50 cents a liter and they didn't have to they could drive out of the way to come visit us losers here on the East Coast. So
well, nothing wrong with old shows. Some of the best shows are old shows,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's an advantage of our age, right? We got to see some of that stuff
in their prime. So
exactly.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll have some of that on all our lists. So
yeah.
Okay, cool. Ken, any news or spinning items?
Not much spinning at the moment, but the one news item that I just came across was that apparently the Black Album is back on the Billboard charts.
Oh, I saw
and
that.
It just broke a record. It's been on for 750 weeks straight.
Wow.
It's now the fourth best streak in album history for I guess metal or rock or whatever bands, which is incredible. So I just thought I didn't even realize it was back on the Billboard charts. I mean, it's just so weird to read about that. But then James apparently went on in this article. He went on to say that after recording the song, a funeral for a friend and Love Lies Bleeding Your Hand, the Elton John song, which I saw the clip on YouTube. They're inspired to write new music. So James says they were actually getting ready to record again. So I was thinking, oh, interesting. Elton
With
John.
Elton John?
No, I hope God, no. But he just mentioned that they were inspired to write. So what they're going to write about is beyond me. I imagine it's going to be the furthest thing from thrash.
That'd be quite the record, right? Because 72 seasons. What was it, this year or last year?
Last year,
yeah.
Usually so they're on like a 5-6 year run rate, for new albums.
Yeah, but it doesn't. He says that, but it doesn't mean it's going to come out like next year. It could be like another 2 to 3 years.
Because it'll take Lars 2 to 3 years just to tinker with his drum sound.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't expect it to come out that fast. I think maybe 3 years tops, if they do anything. I don't know.
But, well, if James is listening to this, and I know he watches, here's the thing: I want 10 songs, no more. But then I want bonus material, stuff from Kill 'Em All, the first couple of shows that they recorded, just a couple of live things in there, just to kind of. It'll hit my top 20 if those songs are on.
Well, Jim, how about a 40-minute album?
yeah, exactly.
40 minutes, no
Tops.
1 hour and fucking 20-minute album.
Yeah,
I'm sick of that shit.
Or how about a thrash album?
Yeah.
How about a thrash album?
Well, that's 40 minutes. That's what I'm saying. 40 minutes of pure thrash. I'd be good with that.
Yeah.
Not this long-winded shit that we're getting now. Way too long. Way too long.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's all I have for tonight. The only news item that I had.
Okay, I had no news, but I had an exciting what was that, Friday? Yeah. So I was flipping through my Instagram account, and one of the it's funny, one of the local record stores. I had went there on Friday, probably like 3 or 4 o'clock. And then I came home, and then by the time I got home, they had a post of one of the walls that was all original presses of the greatest like heavy metal albums. And they had just bought a complete collection off of like somebody our age, a heavy metal collector.
Wow.
And they posted it on the Instagram. So
Mhm.
like I marched down, get dressed, run on down. Unfortunately, there were three things I wanted. Two were gone. So one of those are the incredibly hard to find Death album Symbolic on vinyl.
Oh,
Woo. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
never been that's only been reissued once in like 14, and there's a problem with the label with that, so that thing goes for hundreds of dollars.
Wow.
That was already gone in the 30 minutes it took me to get to the store. So was the Testament, the the early 90s album, the Ritual, I guess it was.
Oh,
the
yeah.
rich.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that eluded me again. I'm not a fan of the album, but I need it
But you
for
got to own it.
collection. Then they had this, an original press from 1989 that I wanted
Woo.
for
Yeah.
some time. It was a little pricey, but I've been chasing this thing down on
Good score.
for like 20, 30 years. So this was a
Nice.
no-brainer, right? So
Oh,
and
yeah.
yeah, the trip well worth it. So it's in great condition too. So the guy
Cool.
took really good care of all his records. And it's funny, speaking of Nuclear Assault, like they had like original presses of all the Nuclear Assault stuff, the early
Wow.
EP and the first three albums. Some of them were up to like $200. So
What store is this, Billy?
oh, this was Rotate This. I'm sure
Oh,
they still
rotate.
have
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
than half the collection left.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, that
Wicked.
was just on Friday, so it's only been a few days.
Wow. I'm sure most of that stuff's gone now.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, like so, I was talking to the guy. He's like, they all have a bet in the store to see how long it all lasts. So yeah, we'll see, right? Like times are a little harder too, right? Like with the
True.
economy and inflation. So I mean, they're all OG 80s presses, right? So they're selling this stuff for hundreds of dollars. So I don't know. Maybe it will be there, maybe it won't. But anyways, it's kind of cool to get my hands on something I wanted for years.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, man.
Um, okay, so I think that covers that. So on back to our main topic, nuclear assault. Just a quick bio. So New York City thrash band, I think everybody knows that, formed in 1984 by one of the key members who formed it was Dan Loker, an OG member of Anthrax, who when he got canned from Anthrax, he joined up with John Connolly, who was the singer of Nuclear Assault, and they got together. They released 6 albums, the first being Game Over in '86, and the last being Third World Genocide in 2005, and a couple EPs very late in their career and very early in their career. Some of those early EPs are pretty cool as well. Band broke up like for the first time in like 1995. Then they were on again, off again. They completely called it quits, or at least as far as we know, in 2022. An interesting side note: I did get to see their very last performance ever.
Wow.
They got together in 2022, or was it 2021? One of those years at the Philadelphia Metal and Beer Festival. Uh,
Ah.
so they were playing, I think, right before Candlemas. So it was great. They played all the old stuff from the first 3 albums. So yeah, that was like a total blast. So
Hmm.
um, yeah, and then in terms of lineup, so the album we're talking today also just so happens to be the lineup from the first album. So John Connolly on guitars and vocals, Dan Loker on bass, Glenn Evans on drums, and Anthony Bramonti on lead guitar. Anything else you guys want to add to the bio?
No, just you should mention that John Connolly was originally in Anthrax. He was one of the very first singers that they
Right.
had
Hmm.
contacted to be in the band, but it didn't work out. I don't even know if he actually sang any songs with them. I know he was one of their original first, I think maybe I'm not sure, first or second, but he was there from the start,
Yeah.
um, and then left, of course.
I don't know how, I mean, it's interesting to think about. I don't know how that would have worked. Like, I don't think he would have suited, but I don't know. Maybe he would have.
Hard to say. I don't know. I've always thought that Nuclear Assault and Anthrax, they're very similar at times. They both have a punk vibe to their
Yeah.
sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only difference is that they're not really a goofy band. Anthrax is a bit more of a kind of a
Yeah.
goofy band at times. So,
Yeah.
but
And
I
they're
don't
a little
know.
more, yeah, no nonsense. Their songs are much shorter.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. Okay, cool. Yeah, so good point there. So just a couple nuclear assault related questions to get us into the groove before we start going track by track on Handle with Care. So I think it's safe to say, I'm sure you guys, and we were talking offline, so I think we all agree, Handle with Care was probably the peak of success and popularity for nuclear assault. But then what did you guys think of the post Handle with Care output? So I guess three albums, Out of Order from 91, Something Wicked from 93, and then sort of a comeback album, Third World Genocide in '05. Jim, why don't you start? What are your thoughts on those three relative to the first three?
Well, definitely a step down from the first three. Sorry, the back three to the first three.
Yeah.
Probably my favorite out of the back three would be Out of Order. Probably because I think it came out in '91. So for me, I was still sort of on that nuclear assault high from '89. And then with, 90 was a big year for death metal and thrash metal. And then 91, it kind of started to taper off a little bit. So I think I was more excited with the fact that they released another album. And that's probably why I was more drawn to it. There's some good songs on there, like Preaching to the Death. Resurrection's a good song. But then, and I think the one after that, which I believe came with, I wasn't. I got to be honest. I wasn't that tepped up after that. The other two, I think I own the one with the clown face on it. I can't even. And I'll be honest with
Something
you.
Something
Wicked.
wicked. Yeah.
Yeah, something wicked. But I got to be honest. I barely listened to it, and I never did pick up Third World Genocide. So I did listen to it for this, for this podcast where I wasn't 100% familiar with it, and it was okay. I mean, it just kind of. It looked like they were back together again. They were trying to get back into it, and I don't know. For me, it just didn't stick. You know, would I may pick it up if I get it at a half decent clearance price, and just I like having the physical copies, but nothing like the first three albums, and nothing like this album for sure. So that's my thoughts on it.
Cool. Anything to add, Ken?
Yeah, Out of Order is probably the best out of the three. What you'll notice though is that it's more mid-tempo, so the
Mm,
song starts slowing down. There are a couple really good songs on that album. Stop, Wait, Think. I love that. That opening intro where it's like a creepy horror film, it's
yeah,
fantastic. I love that. Then it gets really speedy for the rest of it. That's a really good song.
Yeah.
And I like the instrumental Save the Planet's pretty good. It's not too bad either. Ballroom Blitz, the cover is stinko. I don't.
yeah, and that instrumental is long too. I think
Yes,
it's like 6 minutes. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. It's actually pretty good. I
yeah,
like the instrumental quite a bit. It's a solid album. I don't like the album cover at all. It's kind of crappy.
yeah,
Um, uh, and then it just slides from there because obviously in '93 when they did Something Wicked, Thrash was kind of on the out. So you could see that they added two new members because don't forget Lilker and Bramante
Anthony.
had left the band, so that changed the dynamic of the sound. And really, like you get that they changed the logo. The logo is totally different, actually. So
yeah.
I actually have the album here. Um, Look at
Cool.
that, like that logo. It's awful. Like I love
Yeah,
the classic logo. The album cover stinks. I don't even like the album cover. And then the songs are like there's a lot of groove metal. It's not even thrash half of the time.
no,
There's
right.
a couple songs that are pretty speedy, like Price of Freedom, Living Hell. I like Defiled Innocence a lot, but beyond that, a lot of it's just like drank. It's just not good. And then John Connolly changed his vocal style a little bit. He's not shouting. He's actually trying to sing in a more kind of like, I don't know, like alternative metal, maybe. I'm not even sure. It's just bizarre. And
Yeah,
then when you get back to Third World Genocide, it was okay. It was a nice attempt to bring everyone back, but I don't know, it lacks something for me. It had a couple songs that were all right, but I didn't really care for it all that much, to be honest with you. Um, yeah, I don't know. They kind of really went downhill on that. I mean, and the album cover is okay. The art, I mean, the album cover I thought was all right, but
Hmm.
yeah, they just seem to lack something, or something was missing. Oh, and the bass wasn't all that great on Third World Genocide either. I didn't even care for Lil or his bass playing, but yeah. So I think the first Out of Order is the best out of the three.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I think you guys said it all, right? Out of Order is the best of the three for me. I wouldn't say it's consistently strong all the way through.
No.
No,
There's
no.
definitely three, four really strong songs that I
Mm,
like. So that's pretty cool. Uh but yeah, Something Wicked and Third World Genocide, not a big fan
mm-mm.
at all, to be honest. So pretty disappointing. I mean, even Out of Order, right? Like I remember buying that. And then like, coming off a Handle with Care, like to say I wasn't disappointed, I'd be lying.
Yeah.
It was, although we were saying it has like three, four, five good, decent songs, it was certainly no Handle with Care, that's for sure.
No.
No, not at all.
But sort of on that theme, then, after Third World Genocide in 2005, they finally sort of did one final recording, 4 tracks, an EP called Pounder, out in 2015. Did you guys like that better at all? Maybe Ken, you start.
No, I didn't like it at
No.
all. I hate the cover. The cover is awful. I don't like the cover. There's a couple songs that are okay. Like, I don't mind Lies. I think that was the
Yeah,
strongest song on the album for me.
the first
Died
two
in
are decent.
What's that?
I thought the first two were decent.
Yeah,
Bottom,
oh yeah,
not so
the
much.
titles. Yeah. The first two songs are good, but the last two are,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I thought Pounder was okay, but it had a bit of a demo-ish feel to it. I don't know. I just didn't really like it as much. The one song that I don't like is what's that song?
The
I
last
did.
one.
Light in My Arms. Yeah, that to me, the vocals, I don't know what in the world he was trying to attain there, but it was god awful. I did not like it at all. And the other thing that bothered me is you could hardly hear Lilker in the bass with any of
Mhm.
the bass lines. Like he was like low in the mix. And it's too bad because he's a really good bassist and he's kind of important to the band, especially when we talk about Handle with Care tonight. But
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't. It just didn't. It left something to be desired for me. I didn't really like it at all.
Yeah, no, it's a terrible production overall, right? Like
Yeah,
it's,
that's true. That's true.
yeah,
The production wasn't that great on it.
yeah. Anything to add
Uninspired.
there, Jim?
Yeah, no, I mean, you guys said it all. I think it's just a half-assed project at that point, and I was kind of like, okay, I thought maybe a final album was coming, and then they were just testing the waters, maybe. I don't know, and maybe it just I don't know how it did, or I mean, it was what 2015.
Yeah.
I think it probably at that point probably sped up the fact that they were going to disband to some degree. Maybe if they had gotten a bigger, but I just think the material wasn't that great. And 4 songs, like yeah, okay, it's kind of irrelevant in their catalog, I think, anyways.
Yeah. And it's a shame, right? Because
Yeah.
those like, peers like below the big four were all excelling, right?
Oh
Like
yeah.
I mean you could maybe argue some of their albums have been a bit samey, but for the most part they're all still putting out strong material, right? Like Overkill and who else am I missing? Death Angel,
Oh
Test,
yeah.
like everybody like along the way. So oh well.
No, I agree. I just think and I get it. Like it's hard to follow up an album like Handle with Care, and I thought, they were writing for me. They were writing a little bit of that when I bought the next album, but then the album after that was like, and I think it's the same thing when the band changes their logo and their whole sort of way of doing things. It's just it's like, come on, guys, we're metalheads. We're stuck in our ways to some degree. Yeah, we don't mind tweaking, but we don't want total changes. Like, yeah, I like that logo. And I remember looking at it. At first, I didn't think it was them, even when I saw
Yeah.
the album. Yeah. and I bought it. Yeah.
Yeah, doesn't look like it.
And you know,
No.
the sad thing for me is that John Connolly wrote a lot of their material, and it's
Oh
like
yeah.
he's virtually disappeared off the face of the earth. He's not in
Yeah.
any bands these days, so it's so odd to me. It's like he, I don't get it. I don't really get it. You think he would take what he did in Nuclear Assault and continue on with a new band or something, but nah.
I honestly thought, and I thought this was kind of weird. I mean, I don't know anything other than the fact that I thought when they were naming lead singers for Kerry King's band, I honestly thought his name might pop up because, you know,
Mm-hmm.
just that fact that he was free. I mean, I don't know, maybe it was his he wanted to disband and not do it anymore for Nuclear Assault, but I thought, you know, I mean, I'm happy with the way Kerry King went, the direction he went, but I honestly thought I would have been cool to hear his vocals with that musicianship
Cool.
kind of come back a bit. I think it would have been really neat.
Yeah. Although
Yeah.
it's interesting when I mentioned I saw them in their last performance, it really stood out to me though. Like all the guys were like pretty fit actually, uh, and they were up there performing, and you know just like a couple beads of sweat off the forehead. And poor John, he was having a rough time of it. I mean, the sweat was pouring off him. He was soaking, wringing wet. And like he kept making comments like, you know, I'm too old for this. And
Ah,
maybe that's why we haven't seen him pop up again. Maybe he's just done with like music.
quite
He's
possible.
just beat up after all the years.
Well, I did like a Google search, and I was looking up, but I couldn't find anything on him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nothing.
no.
Yeah,
So I
no,
don't know.
yeah, that show, everyone in the band was like, could have easily went on, but yeah, poor John, he was having a tough time that night.
Wow.
And he's doing the vocals and the
Yeah.
guitar. And
Guitar.
yeah, right. He's got a lot on the go. So remembering lyrics. And so, yeah, it's, I guess it's tough. So speaking of John Connolly, so for me personally, I always found he had a bit of a unique vocal approach. I don't think you didn't hear him and say, "Oh, he sounds like that person" or "He sounds like this person." But were you guys a fan of him, like as a vocalist, or would you say you lived with him more because you liked the overall Nuclear Assault sound? Jim, why don't you start?
Oh no, I like him as a vocalist. I think you got bands like Overkill with Blitz. When you hear it, and even Testament with Chuck Billy, I mean, you hear these bands and you know exactly, like you hear the vocalist and you know exactly, even if you don't know the material, who the heck it is. Like especially with new stuff. I mean, not in this case, but like you know, Overkill's the latest album they had out last year. You know, and they have such distinctive voices. He has a distinctive voice. He kind of shouts it a bit. He's got more of a crossover kind of sound to what I think, anyways, and I really like that. But I liked it. I mean, I really like his. I love the musicianship of the band, and I love the writing is pretty cool. And I mean, it's just an all out. This album that we're going to be discussing is an all out thrash attack, and I think his voice really throws in there. I mean, you get a lot of Anthrax feel in there, and obviously there's a good tie in
Yeah.
there. But I hear a lot of Metallica, and sometimes I like his voice even better than Hetfield's voice now to some degree. I wish some, you know, and Hetfield's got a great voice. Don't get me wrong. I just his is more identifiable and really. I just think it's great that they had that, and I always think at Nuclear Assault's kind of a sin that they didn't put out more material and that they aren't continuating because I think now like they're quitting in 2000 or retiring. I shouldn't say quitting, but they're retiring in 2022 kind of came to a bit of a shock to me in the sense that, you know, thrash metal, death metal, a lot of metal genres are making a really big comeback. And I think people are looking for this type of material and they're going back and checking out the older catalogs. So like, you know, I think it's kind of, you know, at least put out another album and see see what sticks, I guess you could say, you know.
Hmm. Yeah, although I guess they had a bad run of it, right?
True.
There's two bad albums, then Pounder. I mean, maybe they got a message, but
Yeah.
Ken, what do you think?
Yeah, I think he was a really good vocalist. He had a very kind of, yeah, the punk vibe to the sound. He had a very strained approach, like he would sing and he sounded like he was straining to get the words out. And I liked how in some of the songs, especially here on Handle with Care, he would emphasize certain words, which I thought was kind of interesting. He had a really good delivery. It's unique. It's very, very unique. But I kind of feel when he gets to the later stuff, you can see where I don't know, he was trying something different, where he actually tries to start singing and it just doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't work for the style. But then I'm of the opinion that I think Nuclear Assault, the reason why they falters, because I think they were just a product of their time. They had a very limited shelf life. It was obvious to me when you hear this band, out of 6 albums, 3 are good and 3 aren't. So they had a shelf life. So it's clear to me that they had a shelf life and they couldn't recover really. And maybe it was the right thing to do, but retire. But I think Conley, I don't know. I mean, he wrote the majority of the songs. So I mean, like he's obviously the brains behind the band. Well, next to Lilker, probably on bass. But so I'm actually a bit surprised that he hasn't come back in another project. I really am. I agree with Jim. I think there is a time where he could come back and be in a band. Like I think he is better than James Hetfield at times. Just
Yeah.
the aggro style and the yelling and the screaming and the shouting. It works for this band, but I don't know. Maybe I'm of the opinion they had a shelf life, and that's why he's done with music. I don't know.
Good
But
point.
he is unique. He is a very unique vocalist.
Yeah, no, I agree with you guys. I remember reading once somebody referring to him like as like goblin like vocals. I don't know. Like I guess sometimes when I hear him sing, I think of that like a goblin singing. But for me, I love him. Like I think he's
Yeah.
especially on Handle with Care. I think
Yeah.
it's his best work, and I think Ken, you hit it dead on. It's when the way he could like focus on certain words or his
Yeah.
pronunciation on certain words,
Yeah.
they're really memorable, right? And
Yeah.
I think, I guess given he writes a lot of the stuff, like,
That's right.
like he's thinking about like, and I'll call it vocal hooks, right? Like so
Yeah.
much of this is like he'll say the way he pronounces a vocal line is
Yeah.
actually a highlight of the song, right? So
Yeah.
it's
Exactly.
really good.
I
Yeah,
like that vocal riff. That's exactly what it is. You're right.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. And then last quick question. So obviously things weren't the band wasn't gelling. So we definitely saw some splintering in the 90s. Some of this stuff I know, some I personally don't know. Some of the spin-offs to the band, right? So Lilker did Brutal Truth, which I definitely know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Evans had his solo project CIA, which I own that record. And then I think there was John Connolly Theory, which I don't know
Yes.
anything about or never heard. So Ken, anything there did you like, or did you find it kind of like all the later Nuclear Assault material? Nothing.
No, I actually Brutal Truth actually is not that
Yeah.
bad. They're a typical earache signing for the
Yeah.
'90s. The kind of bands that they were signing. I like them because it's grindcore, death metal.
Yeah.
I own Animal Kingdom, which I like a lot. That's a pretty good record. The Sounds of the Animal Kingdom. I really like that album. Yeah, so I think it was interesting that Lilker joined that band. The CIA, I don't own it. I've heard it, and it's kind of like punk metal rock. It's kind of interesting, but Evans actually plays guitar and drums on it, so it's
He
almost
does
like
everything. Yeah.
yeah, it's like he's a one man band, I
Yeah.
think. So that's kind of interesting. Yeah, for what the John Conley Theory, I saw it, but I haven't heard anything, so I
Yeah,
don't quite know what he was trying to do there. If it's like a continuation of Thrash, I assume it's not. I assume it's something different. Maybe it was more punk. I'll have to look it up after we finish talking tonight, and just to
I
give it
actually
a
couldn't
go.
find it. I was searching
You couldn't
around,
find it?
and I
Okay.
don't know. Maybe I was. I don't know.
Even on
I
YouTube, you
just
couldn't
couldn't
find
find it.
anything? Not even YouTube?
No, but I don't
Oh,
know
okay.
if I got the name right, if it's John
Okay.
Connolly Theory or if it's something else.
I
But
think it's John Connolly Theory, from my understanding.
okay, all right, cool. Yeah,
But I mean,
sorry, what were
sorry,
you
just
gonna say?
I was just gonna say, clearly the band at least they're all kind of individually musical, like they're all kind of into doing music. So it's not like they all just departed. I mean, Bramante actually is in another band. I forget the name of the band, but
Yeah.
he's in like I think it's a power metal band, I think. But he's in another band as well. So I mean, like they're all musically inclined to continue doing music, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's kind of cool. The yeah, for me, I liked really the only Brutal Truth album I knew was the I think it's the first, the
The first, yeah,
Extreme Conditions Demand Extreme Responses, right?
yeah,
That would have been like 91 or 92, I'm guessing.
that's 91, I think.
Um
92.
92.
92,
Okay.
okay,
But yeah, I love that album, but I just never really followed after that, so I don't know too much there. And yeah, I don't know that CIA album In the Red, like yeah, it's pretty average, I guess.
yeah.
At best, I would say. And one of the Nuclear Assault guitarists did do some guest solos, like that guy Dave DiPietro, or I think that was
Oh,
his name.
right, right. Was it Eric Burke?
No,
No,
wasn't there a Dave DiPietro in Nuclear Assault at some
there.
point?
There could have been. Yeah, yeah. I would probably.
Yeah. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that was his name. But yeah, I mean, it was pretty lackluster. I thought it didn't do that well. It's called In the Red.
Yeah.
I happened to come across it in a Philadelphia record store for like still sealed, like original sealed, and it was
Wow.
like $5 in a
Wow.
description. Uh, so, but so Jim, anything you want to add on the spin-off projects?
Yeah, Brutal Truth was good. There was, I think, the second album, Need to Control, was a much more punkier. They had a cover there from the Germs. I think it's only like a short song, which would have been written probably by like Pat Smear. So, and I think what I read about it was, and I have that album. It has a lot of tracks on it. It has like 15 tracks on it, and I think it was a lot more crossover, grindcore mixed with a bit of a. You can really tell there was a lot of punk roots there, and but I mean the Brutal Truth stuff's not bad.
Mhm.
But that's about where it kind of started and stopped with me. And the first album was good too, but I didn't go much past the second album.
Hmm, cool.
Yeah.
All right, so we're kind of in the same boat there. So yeah, so let's jump over to probably their best album, Handle with Care. Track by track, there's a lot to like here. So I think
Mm.
like last week, I think we'll all be gushing over many of these songs. But so the first song on the album, new song, Jim, you want to start?
Absolutely. I mean, what a way to start off the album. I mean, there's so much good material on this album. You know, in 1989, I was 18 years old. I picked this up because I saw the cover, and it was amazing, and it's just so cool. And I mean, I absolutely love the wicked riff intro is just amazing. And you know what, this would have been the introduction to this band for me, and then I went back and got the previous albums. But the vocals on this, I think, is what attracted me to it the most. And that was like, I mean, yeah, it's a thrash sounding musician wise album, but the vocals are so cool. I like it. It doesn't He doesn't sound like anyone else, and the band didn't sound like anybody else. And I agree with what Ken said, and thinking about it, I'm always a glasses half full guy, so I want everybody to keep putting albums out, even like I don't care. I want more, and I'm like very selfish like that. But yeah, I agree. The shelf life after this became fairly stale, and probably they didn't get the reception they were hoping for, and maybe the changes they did or the tweaks they did just didn't pay off. But that at 125 in the song, there's that killer guitar solo. It's got a wicked groove to it, and it's a heavy track. But I think this introduced me to his vocal style. Totally loved it, and I think that's really what turned me on with this band. And went back and bought the previous albums and just loved it. So, and I compare it a lot to the vocalization, and the sound of the music is totally different from Overkill, but It's just that vocalization sound that you know exactly who it is, who's singing, and what band it is. Overkill's the exact same way in my book. So yeah, I love this track. It's an awesome track.
Yeah, I think that's a safe comparison. Ken, your thoughts on New Song?
Yeah, this is a good song too. I like track number 2 better than number 1, but this song is pretty solid. There's like at least 3 good tempo changes, and the solo that comes in here, like around the
Yeah.
2 minute mark, is pretty damn good. You
Oh,
won't get anything better than that. It's heavy, lots of heavy riffing. There's like it's got a rapid fire pace right at the start, which is great. And then the song itself, like I was reading about the lyrics and reading about the song, and basically John was writing about the frustrations of those who like cling to stale ideas and stereotypes and then dismiss new ideas. So I kind of like the song for that reason. So it's a serious opener in my mind, and as Jim was saying, Conley's vocals are really good. They're shouty here. There's a punk vibe to them. The guy is all business, and that's what makes it kind of a really good song to open the album.
But don't you think Bramante's an underrated guitarist? Like I think he's a friggin'
Absolutely.
like on this album he really shines. I mean he kicks ass. Like it is just like I bet you, I don't know if you pulled out, I don't know what magazine at the time of 1989 or 1990, and they always had the top guitar players. I mean, maybe not Hit Parader because that was filled with a lot of shite like hair bands and stuff. They'd have like CC DeVille as a great guitar. Anyways, but he should be on there with like a Hammett and and with all the top guitar players of that time for sure.
Yeah.
I think he should be.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan too, right? Like I think this song sort of sets us up for the album, with the exception of 2 longer songs. What I like about this album, the songs are like about 3 minutes plus or minus like 20 seconds, right?
Yeah.
So they have an amazing riff. They got the vocal hooks. They got great choruses. It just great leads, and they're in a 3 minute package, right? So it's they always leave you wanting more. They never overstays its welcome.
Yeah.
So like even this week, I was replaying them and getting ready for the episode today. I kept going back and playing them again. It's like, oh yeah, it's so cool, right? Like it's when they become 6 or 7 minute songs, there's inevitably filler stuff in there, but these are just all great stuff. I agree with you guys. Chorus is memorable. Love John's vocals. The guitar tones like really pointy and crisp on the album, so it kind of cuts right through the music. Great solo at like 1:35, and then that sort of leads into a really cool time change at about 1:40, 1:45. But all these little pieces, like a time change or a vocal line, like because it's a 3 minute song, it's all impactful. So yeah, I'm a big fan of this and of many of them. But so Ken, I know you said you like Critical Mass better, and I think probably every Nuclear Assault fan on the planet likes this song. So not surprising, but why don't you take the lead on this one?
Sure. Before I do though, you were mentioning the guitar tone. Don't forget this was produced by Randy Burns.
Yeah.
And he did help them get that a much thicker tone.
Yeah.
And you could tell right away that this album has something that the first 2 don't have. Like it's good. I'm not saying they're bad albums. I'm just saying this album stands out in particular for the really thick tone. But
yeah, and just overall way better production.
Oh yeah. Guaranteed.
Yeah.
But you'll get it on this song because I think this song here is like it's got that massive chug you started out with. So it's going to grab you by the balls right with that intensity from the start. The bass is awesome. I love the bass intro at the start. That's so freaking good. And then the walls just start, and it's like a wall of sound that doesn't stop, right? And I think this is like a mosher's dream to me. This is a song that all moshers would be going insane in the pit to be bobbing up to this song. And and I like all of it. There's a really good the solo at the 2:04 mark is like a blitzkrieg. It's Wow. And then also this video is really, really cool because they
Yeah.
did a video for this and it has Jessica Hahn in the video, you know, the famous girl who slept with Jim Baker. And she's in this video, which is kind of which is kind of funny. I always like this video because it's, I mean, obviously the song's about, you know, impending environmental disaster facing the world. So it's clear cut what their purpose was to the song. It's short, it's vicious, and yeah, it's probably my favorite song on this album for me.
Yeah, yeah. I'd say I'm the same way. Yeah, it's great. Like, I mean, the bass intro, as you said, is really cool. I mean, that main guitar riff in the song, like, it's so memorable, right? It's like it's crazy good. But for me, the chorus, like,
Mm,
it's so catchy and hooky, right? It's a complete earworm, right? Like the another oil spill, atomic waste displaced, another forest dies, bring on the acid rain. Like it's so memorable. And again, it goes back to John, right? His vocal pronunciation
yeah,
of the words. Like every one of those lines is like a vocal hook that
yeah.
sounds so damn good. Yeah, another great. Like every time I listen to this song, a smile comes on my face. So yeah, over to you, Jim. And I got a question for you, and you probably would have said it anyways, but you said this is the album where you discovered the band. Was it by any chance for this music video?
Oh yeah, for sure. I
Yeah,
mean,
okay.
it fell right onto the fact of handle with care. I mean, this is the environmental sort of tie-in with it to some degree. But yeah, the video, I mean, that would have came out on the Pepsi Power Hour, you know, and we would have seen it, and it would have been like, oh yeah, run out and buy that. But yeah, that bass intro is amazing. You know, I love this. It's just a thrash anthem. Like every band has that song that just that main song, no matter what. I mean, you know, old school Metallica has many great songs, but there's got to be that one song that you that identifies with you with the band. This is it for me. It's tied with a couple of others on here, but I love it. I mean, it's their. I think it's their. I guess you could say with the video and with you know with the how well the album did. This is probably their most commercial, but it's one of the heaviest tracks on the album and one of the best tracks on the album. I mean, I just love it. I wrote down it's a fast thrasher. I mean, and I just love that. It's amazing from start to finish. Yeah, and song number two. You know, you're already into this album, and it's like wow, where's it going to go from here? And in my mind, it just keeps going up and up and up. But yeah, this is one of my favorites on the album.
Yep. So I figured we'd all be in agreement there. So Jim, you're still on deck. So track three, Inherited Hell.
Yeah, this is a cool one. It's got more of a melodic, heavy intro. And then the guitar riff's got a really kind of got a Metallica-esque sound to it. You know, the vocals again on this track is a great vocals on this album, and I like the high but clean vocals, and I think that's you know some people would say he's shouting, and we've said it, but what we're meaning by it is he's just being very forceful and very thrash sounding. But I also find them very high and very clean. So you know, and I'm a huge fan of death metal, and I like both clean and unclean vocals. But with this, I mean, it's just amazing. Again, it's got another massive guitar solo, but the riffs. I mean, it's a great song. Great song. I absolutely love it. You know. And like I say, it's got. I think it's the riffs that give me that kind of Metallica-esque sound. It kind of has that vibe. There's a couple of tracks on this album that remind me of that. This is one of them.
Cool. Ken?
Yeah, the one thing I gotta go back to that Anthrax point because I after hearing this song, I kind of fully realized why Anthrax may have entertained the idea of having him in the band. I'm not sure if they wanted to be the vocalist, but he can reach Joey Belladonna at times. There is a slight comparison to the two. And I notice it. You can notice it from in bits in parts of songs. Here, I kind of pick it up a little bit. He's good here. I think this is one of the songs that I like him singing on. And maybe it does come down to the fact that he wrote most of the lyrics, so he's obviously the most passionate member of the band, I would think. But I like the fact that this song, again, it kind of serves as a warning to, Pete society to heed our actions or we're all in trouble. So, this he's a very serious dude, no question about that. And the bass is great. Luker is really good on the bass here. It's just a blistering track. I think this is such a great song.
Maybe an unfair question, Ken, but what
Yeah.
do you think if this singer would have went on in Anthrax? I mean, what do you think? Do you think he was too? Do you think they picked like, I mean, obviously it was Turbin, but then they went eventually with Belladonna and hit the ground running kind of there. Do you think that they? I mean, obviously you love Anthrax, so you think they made the right choice. But do you think his vocalization was just too heavy and too maybe forceful, or?
Yeah, I think that would be the case because the kind of lyrics they write about, you need someone to sing
Yeah,
them, not
good
just
point.
like just shout them out. Like you need a singer
Yeah,
to like enunciate the lyrics in a way. I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, I could see him in the band, but I think he's way too serious for them.
well,
I
I
think that's
couldn't
a,
see him singing. I couldn't see him singing "I Am the Law," for instance. He
no.
doesn't.
I couldn't.
Yeah,
I can't either. That's a Joey song for sure.
yeah,
But I think he might have been just way a bit too serious for their ilk.
right. Cool.
Also, no, he played guitar, so I don't know if that conflicted with Scott.
Yeah, true.
So like, I don't know because it's Scott's band, right?
Yeah,
And this is obviously his band. So you do the math, you figure it out. Yeah, this is obviously what he wanted to do. So he's doing Nuclear Assault.
true.
But it's hard to say.
I can't picture him in Anthrax, but I
Yeah.
don't know. That's just me. I actually probably would have preferred it, to be honest. Uh, but yeah, I can't see that. Yeah, I don't know, but who knows?
Yeah, it's hard to say, right? It's
Yeah, so Inherited Hell, like I think you guys kind of hit it all there. I did like the opening. It's a little bit different, a little bit more
yeah,
dramatic before it gets like super thrashy and kind of vicious in there. But yeah, I think John stands out again, right? Because he delivers the vocals with urgency, but he's also, maybe it gets to what you were saying, Ken. Like there's a feeling of like melodicness and catchiness to the vocals as well in this track, right?
yeah, yeah.
So that kind of comes through. I don't think you guys mentioned it, but I think the drums are pretty good on this track.
Yes.
Some interesting drum fills happening throughout the song, and yeah, one of the longer solos on the album, actually, on this thing. So that's pretty
Mhm.
cool. But yeah, again, it follows the same pattern, but it just executed perfectly. So then that brings us to a slightly shorter track, Ken, Surgery.
Yeah, I love this song. This song is so great. It's like total punk vibe.
Yeah.
I love the fact that all the lyrics are about some kind of harrowing surgery where he's having like you're getting wires drilled into your head, you get tubes inserted into your neck, you have toxins pumped into your veins. Wow, I love this song. I don't know what he's referring to specifically, but yeah, this is so great. Like it's just in your face, and that opening riff and the bass. Woof, wow, it's killer. This is so, and it's got like a really chuggy vibe. It's really catchy for me. And then there's a couple riffs there, 136, the 2 minute mark, and then I like the end with that kind of bass where the bass trails off. It's a
Yeah.
really good song, short but sweet but memorable.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. How about you, Jim?
Oh, I think this is a great double bass drum track as well, and I love that bass outro. I think that was
Yeah,
really cool. It a lot of bands don't ever do that, and I think that really sets this track apart. I think it's got that punky vibe, but there's parts of it that remind me of early Slayer, and I don't know what it is. It's just, oh man, it's kind of, and I mean, this album's produced really well, and the production on it's super great, but it's just got that kind of really thrashy early Slayer vibe in some parts of it. But I love it. I think it's and yeah, being a short song, it's just, and maybe that's what's got me reminiscent of a Slayer song, maybe because back in the day most of their tracks were fairly quick. But oh yeah, this just gets to business really really fast, and no, it's an awesome track.
Yeah, no, it's good. Like you guys literally said everything. So, yeah, like I just love the bass in this song and the fact that it's
Yeah.
funky and also kind of groovy and like you get a bit of everything in this track. And
Yeah.
yeah, so just good stuff. I'm not going to be repetitive here. So that brings us to track number 5, Emergency. Jim, why don't you start us here?
This is one of my favorites. I mean, this is a killer track. It's got a darker groove. It's got that wicked, I don't even know how you would say it. It's almost like a siren like guitar
Yeah.
intro.
Yes.
It is just, and this is what crossover metal in my mind is all about. And it's just, the song goes in so many directions. It speeds up at the end. It has that 40 seconds into it, the song just gets faster and faster. And the chorus, emergency. This song's got everything. I mean, this would rival even Critical Mass for me. I mean, and there's another one on here that's coming up a couple songs from now that is just phenomenal as well. But yeah, this is top tier thrash material, and I just love it. I mean, when that song just at the 40-second mark just starts to take off, it's just there's no stopping. It's like a runaway train.
Yeah. One of the things I like too, this is the first time we're actually getting backing vocals
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
as like a
Yes.
main
Yes.
part of the song. So that's pretty cool. There's a nice, like almost funky like break at like 2.5 minutes. That kind of what you were saying, Jim. It kind of jumps around this
Oh
track.
yeah.
But yeah, like good melodic chorus. And yeah, you already hit it that at 38 seconds, that bloody rip. That then the song takes off. It's so good. But yeah, no, it's another strong one. Again, same formula, but executed perfectly. Gives us all these little nuggets thrown in there in a short period. So, Ken, your thoughts?
Yeah, I share both what you're saying on this song. The one thing I do like is I like the lyrical references to Batman and Robin, the dynamic duo, and Bonnie and Clyde to enact justice. It's kind of great, but the song's a bit kind of mixed because he's mentioning like drugs and alcohol and then some kind of personal justice. So it's interesting that he throws all that into the song. I don't know if you guys mentioned it, but I like the torrid pace, and then it suddenly stops right at the end. I love that because it's just like
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
Okay, that's so great. It's like sometimes it works in metal bands when musicians like write a song and then they stop suddenly. I like here it kind of worked for me because it's like you're getting this insane riff roaring sound all the way through. It's fast, it's aggressive. It's such a great song with a lot of punk vibes with the vocals. It's all great. So yeah, this is
Yeah.
a really good song as well. I would agree with Jim. It might rival Critical
Critical.
Mass. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we're all in agreement there. So Ken, that brings us to your favorite song on the album, Funky Noise.
Jeez,
Uh,
how'd you guess
Yeah.
that, Billy? How did you guess? Oh, this is the worst song on the
Oh.
album. I don't understand it. I I know we have this argument all the time when we talk about albums, but this song does not belong on this album. I don't get it.
No.
I don't see the point other than having a bit of a break before you get to the track 7, which is insane.
Yeah.
But I don't get it. I don't know what the point was. You're just trying to show that you're versatile. I don't get it. I did not understand the song at all. Could have left it off as far as I'm concerned.
And the fact that it's only 50 seconds, right? So you
Yeah.
didn't even fully explore it or blow it
No.
out. And like, I don't mind the funkiness of the instrumental, but like, if
Sure.
it's limited to 50 seconds, then like, you're not even going to get anything out of that.
No.
No.
I mean, there's good bass work from Dan, like, that's kind of cool, but I don't know. Do you like it? I mean, there's not much to hear, but do you like it, Jim? He's already shaking his head.
No, he
No,
doesn't
it's
like it.
unneeded. Unneeded. It's like a thrashy I like the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I like older stuff. I don't like their commercially crappy newer stuff that they've had out. But this is like a thrashy Chili Peppers kind of song. I don't know where they were going with it. I just think it. Again, this is bonus material taking up good real estate in the album. Like put it on
Yeah.
a Japanese release or something where you could, if you want to buy it, you can buy it. But it's unneeded and irrelevant in my mind. So, and I'm sorry if anybody's a fan of it, but I know the three of us aren't, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, do either of you guys have the running time of the album handy by any chance, or
Yeah,
I
it's
didn't look it up.
I think it was 40. Oh, geez, I had it here. I'll check it
Okay.
out and see.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
not like 50 seconds would make a difference either way. So,
No,
I think
no.
it's over 40 minutes, Bill. Billy, I think
Yeah.
it's over 40 minutes.
okay, cool. Okay, so track number 7, and I never know how to pronounce it. I mean, F number sign wake up, like I call it wake up, but I don't know, like
I
maybe.
call it fuck wake up.
Yeah.
Okay. Then what's the dollars? What's the number sign for?
I guess it's because they're trying to say fuck without saying
Oh,
fuck. You know what I'm
without,
saying?
okay, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Okay, Jim, why don't you start here?
Oh man, this is my other favorite on the album. This is an amazing song. This is another one where you know, just like Critical Mass, this is the other big punchy one that got a lot of, I think, a lot of play from people who, a lot of people's second favorite on the album. And it's one of, in my top grouping of the songs. I mean, it's a wicked aggressive track. You know, it's got, again, that crossover vibe in it, and I love the wake up chorus, and it is just wicked. I mean, that the song is awesome, and it coming off of the train wreck right before, this puts everything back into order, and the world is all right again in nuclear assault land, as far as I'm concerned.
Cool. Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I think it's kind of a punk
Yeah.
cool track for sure. Backing vocals show up here again. So like that, super catchy, great bass driven track. There's a lot of good bass work here. That guitar lead at like a minute 35. Yeah, just another great classic song. Ken, anything you want to add?
Yeah, you guys have pretty much hit it. Pretty much said everything you need to say about it. I mean, it's another good like moshing headbanger.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely an Anthrax vibe here. I get
Oh
it.
yeah.
I hear the Anthrax in the song so much.
Hmm.
So it's like I can see where the two bands are similar in some ways. But yeah, it's a great. What's that?
Same with DRI and SOD. I think it
Yeah,
has a lot. Yeah,
yeah.
especially in DRI. Yeah.
I could see that. Yeah. It's I could see this. There's a grouping of bands who all kind of have a similar kind of thrash punk vibe, and this song is for sure it's in there. But yeah, it's a really good song as well.
Cool. So Ken, sticking with you, track number 8, When Freedom Dies.
Yeah, this is all right. It's heavy. It's got some really thick sounding guitars.
Mm-hmm.
I like it 30 seconds in and then it goes into overdrive. So that's what I think is great about the song. This is a song where I was noticing some of the way that John writes vocals because he emphasizes the enemy. And I love how he does that in the song. And it's like we become the enemy when freedom dies for security. I love that. It's just something I noted. I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting. So it's just interesting how he handles some of those vocal lines. But it's great. The lyrics are more or less about the idea of war, the impact of war, and the erosion of your freedom. So it's got some heavy bits to it. But yeah, this is a really good song.
Cool. Jim?
Yeah, I like it. I wish it was a bit longer. This and
Yeah.
torture tactics. I'd like, maybe they take that minute from the crappy one there and they split it between those two and make them a bit longer. I think it's too short. I would have
Yeah.
liked the slower kind of, the more slower intro to go a little longer. But I mean, yeah, it's a great song, and it just takes off. And the guitar work on this song too is awesome. I wish it was a little longer. It's my only complaint. And I'll have the same thing about a song I love, Torture Tactics. Not to get ahead of myself, but I find that's too. It's only just over 2 minutes. It needs to be longer. These songs, a couple of these they could go a little longer. I mean, I know they get the business and they go for it, but and they take the time to do a bit more of a slower intro to it. So maybe adding it for another 20 seconds would have really turned the song into something a lot more memorable. But I mean, I like the song. It's great.
Cool. Yeah, I'm the same. I enjoy the song. I really like the opening, right? The guitar and bass playing to start the song, just outstanding stuff. And for me, like the chorus here with this and Critical Mass and track number 9, Search and
Oh
Seizure,
yeah,
are probably like the three of the best like choruses, I think so, on the album,
Yeah.
where John really shines in terms of those vocal hooks. And yeah, I mean, this track again, actually, although it's incredibly short, 2.5 minutes, there's a couple tempo changes in there, mixing it up between pace. So yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, it sort of jumps from mid pace to full on like aggressive mode. So that's kind of cool. But so yeah, so speaking of Search and Seizure, Jim, why don't you start there?
yeah. This is a great song. I think this is the only song written by him, by Evans himself.
Yeah.
So it's really cool song. I mean, I love the burp intro. I mean, come on, this is wicked. It's got that Metallica vibe again with the heavy guitars, and the wicked chorus for that just keeps going with Search and Seizure. It's wicked. This is, like you said, Billy. It's probably one of the top 3 choruses out of the whole album, and I absolutely love it. No, this is a great track, and yeah, I like it better, even better than track number 8. And but no, it's good. And at a 4-minute mark of the song's over 4 minutes long, so you got some time to really get into it. And I really
Yeah.
like it. One of my top songs on the album.
Yeah. Yeah, I find, and Ken, you and I both mentioned this earlier, the way like John will pronounce certain
Yep.
words, right? So that chorus, right, search and then he'll hold seizure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Dizzy
it's
here too.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
damn good, man. Like I
Yeah,
love it. That's the hook, right? That's
Yep.
the vocal hook. Man, there's like yeah, some great riffs. Also, you get one of the longer solos, right? Because it's over 4 minutes. So they
Yep.
finally, the musically get some time to breathe. So that's kind of cool. This is like John's one of his better vocal
yeah,
performances, I think, right? Because it's just so damn memorable. But yeah, and also great riffs. There's like one or two killer riffs in the song. But Ken, I'll pass it to you here.
Yeah. So that the burp, I think is purposely put there to sort of take a stab at the cops, because obviously the whole song is that you're being pulled over by search and seized by the cops.
yeah,
So it's obviously that the burp is meant to be like a slap to the face or an insult to police procedurals. But yeah, this is a good song too. I mean, again, yeah, as we were saying, Billy, he emphasizes the word seizure, which is great. It's kind of it's great. So obviously he's taking offense to the fact that someone's going to stop me, search my car, and look for shit, like if I got drugs in the car, alcohol, whatever. So it's kind of a little bit of humorous. I don't think it's meant to be, but it just comes across that way. But yeah, this is great. That opening riff, what a firecracker! It's and the chorus. The chorus is the best thing
yeah.
about the song. I love the song. It's really good.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, sounds like all three of us do.
Mhm.
So now we're going back from 4 minutes to just over 2 minutes. Track number 10, Torture Tactics. Ken, why don't you continue?
Yeah, this is kind of interesting. I, I like it and I don't. I like the idea that they're trying to sort of take a stab at the idea of Nazi Germany. At least that's the impression I'm getting. Obviously they pulled the quote from the Blues Brothers, the swastika is calling you, but they also took, because I've seen the movie a bunch of times. They took other lines from the movie and used it as like samples in the song, so it's kind of okay. I don't know. I mean, a lot of the lyrics are about the idea of like discovering the dark power of like oppressive regimes. So I thought they took a different approach to this. I don't know. I'm not sure if this is where like the punk vibes are really coming in, because a lot of punk
Yeah.
bands, this is the kind of stuff that a punk band would love to sing. So I'm not sure if that's what the thinking was, but I think the song's a bit disjointed in some ways. I don't know if you guys think that way, but that's kind of what my thought was about it.
So, Jim, what do you think? I think you may have already hinted that you're a big fan
Yeah.
of this one.
I like it, but I should have been longer. And I think, you know what? Ken said it 100%. I think this is more belongs on, maybe not as thrashy. The song is thrashy, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but maybe if it wasn't thrashy, it'd be more on a full-on punk album, because it's a little bit more, I guess it's more of a caricature of like a punk song kind of put
Yeah.
to more of a thrash metal. Yeah, technically that would be crossover, but this is definitely more of a punk vibe to it, with the dogs at the end and all the stuff at the end, and that I just think it's too short. I think if they it's a bit disjointed on the album. I agree with Ken 100%. I think maybe this one here is a little bit different. It would have been cool if maybe it was a bit longer and maybe they took a little bit more of a different direction with it and hit more, because Torture Tactics, great name of a song, especially for a thrash metal band. I think it just should have been more thrash orientated lyrics to some degree, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Still keep the punk vibe, and because they are, these guys do have a lot of crossover elements to them, but I think this is definitely a full-on punk track for sure.
Yeah, it's probably my least favorite of the fuller songs, right?
Yeah.
Forget 50-second instrumental, but I think it's still good. Like I don't mind it. Like it's fine. It's kind of funny because to me it always like at the end when John's like shouting, like it almost sounds like he's shouting like Mother's Day, Mother's Day, Mother's Day, which is the next song. Like I'm sure I'm just hearing it funny, but I always sounds like he's saying Mother's Day during that part where he's shouting. Uh, but obviously he's not. But to my ears, I always hear Mother's Day. I don't know why.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But so speaking of Mother's Day, I mean, there's not a whole lot here. But so Jim, fill us in on this 30-second hit here.
Well, it's Mother's Day, so I don't want to shit on it too much. But again, this is another just blurby song. Maybe it should have added into Torture. I don't know. It wouldn't add it in at all. But I don't know. It's just 32 seconds or whatever of just yelling Mother's Day. So I don't know. It's just another irrelevant one for me. These little guys these two little ones in my mind should be. I mean, maybe it has some sort of attachment to them or whatever. I mean, it is a Mother's Day, I guess, but these should be bonus tracks as far as I'm concerned.
Mm. I mean, even if you'd call a 30-second a bonus track, like a bonus like piece, I don't know. Ken, what do you think?
Well, I don't like it either, but I have a feeling they have punk roots, so they obviously wanted to. I think the song is done purposely because it's got a punk vibe to it.
Yeah.
And I think they did. I think there is a purpose of why it's there. We just don't. We're just not privy to that. But I think they know why it's there, and I'm pretty sure it's because they want to honor kind of like that edgy punk root in their sound. And these little, if you want to call this a vignette, even like
Yeah.
That's
it's
right.
obvious to me why I think it's there. I don't think it needs to be there. And it's funny because Anthrax, I know, had similar songs like this because on Volume 8, they had like Cup of Joe and 604, which were like that. So I don't know, maybe it's just, this is one way to throw it to honor punk, or maybe it's a New York thing. Maybe this is what the New York bands just have this idea to honor punk more so than, because a lot of famous punk bands have come out of New York. So the city itself is famous for punk.
Good point.
So I understand why a lot of thrash bands coming from New York would want to honor this kind of stuff. So
That's true. That's a good point. And there's a lot of punk songs off of different punk bands' albums that are just tiny, like you said, that like this. And that's exactly it. I never thought of it that way, but that actually makes it that much cooler for me.
And there are New York bands or punk bands who actually who've actually started throwing a little bit of thrash in their sound at times. So I mean, I think it's interchangeable. I think both genres are really aware of each other, and I think they both take from each. Yeah, I would think on the New York side, not in California, but
cool. So now we flip to the complete reverse, right? We go from 30, the shortest song, one of the shortest, to the longest song for sure on the album, clocking in almost at 6 minutes. Very different style too, to some degree.
Yep.
Trail of Tears. Ken, why don't you lead us here?
Yeah, this song I like. Now this is where I really compare Connolly to Anthrax, and he's it might be his best vocal performance for singing on the album. Like he has some urgency in his voice, but there's touches of belladonna here. I hear it. It's pretty solid for me. At the 140 mark, it kind of slows down, so you get that like it gets melodic. You get like some kind of a anonymous tone, and then it breaks into that second solo by the 2 minute mark. So then you get that tempo change at the 3 minute 340 mark. That solo is really good. I mean, overall, it's a really good, solid song for me. And I like the fact that they took a bit of a different stab at writing a song. And then the lyrics are all about a person who's lost all feeling and basically has no emotional connection to life. So I kind of like that. So I wonder if this is Conley, if it's more of a personal song to him. But I think it's a pretty good song overall to end it.
Would you call it almost ballad like?
It's not quite ballad, but
Yeah,
it would be the closest thing.
Ballad-esque.
it's got
Yeah, ballad.
components
Yeah,
for
I think it
sure.
has moments for sure.
Yeah.
Because they actually decide to make a song where they're singing a bit, and the Conley's coming across as a much not so punky in this song. So yeah,
Yeah.
I could kind of see maybe they were thinking ballad, maybe. I don't know. It's
Yeah, it
possible.
has components for sure. I always
Yeah,
found
yeah.
that, right?
I think it does.
Uh,
Yeah.
Especially the guitar playing can get pretty like emotive and
Yep.
like during those instrumental sections it
Yeah.
has like a ballad feel. But yeah, I like this song just because it's quite the journey, right?
Right.
Like as you said, Ken, like you're going through different emotions and paces, and I think the band did like a pretty good job mixing this together. So yeah, I mean, this would be like a small complaint. I personally would have ended the album with I would
Yes.
have reversed Search and Seizure with Trail of Tears.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
yeah. You
for
could have done that.
Nuclear Assault. It feels a bit odd to end on Trail of Tears, but again,
Mm.
that's nitpicking. I like the song, so I mean, stick it where they will. But I mean, for Nuclear Assault and the power this album has, I may have put something a little quicker at the end.
Yeah, I could see that. That makes sense.
But Jim?
Love the song, hate the placement. Yeah, I agree, Billy. This shouldn't have ended off the album, and they should really re-release it and fix it for us. But anyways, they should have like another one of the thrashier songs at the end. It's a great song, and 5 minutes. This is what I wanted. It is more. It does have elements of a ballad-esque kind of song with it, and I think it's more along the lines of what Ken said. There might be a personal message there
Yeah.
in the way that it's presented, but I think it would have been better in the middle part of the album. And then they finish off on a real, like, just aggressive punch, but still a great song.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's a top and a bottom. This would be in the middle for me, but I would have liked to end off the song. They started it with such a sort of a burner of a song, and then and then they had all throughout it just heavy crossover punk sound, and then they kind of hit this, which is a little bit different. I think I guess they put it where they may, but I think it would have been more of a punch if it was maybe in the middle of the album more so. And Search and Seizure would have, especially with that chorus finishing off the album. Still a
You know
great
what?
song.
You know what though, Jim? I think they should have stuck it between Emergency and Wake Up. I
Good
think it would
point.
have been fine right there.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
get rid of Funky, get rid of the stupid track number 6,
yeah.
dump it, and then you stick it right there, and then
Yeah,
you put like maybe Surgery or Search and Seizure at the end. Even
yeah.
Surgery, I think would have been a
Oh
fine
yeah.
Yeah.
song to end the album
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah, I agree.
Either song would have been perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know what goes into placement of songs. I don't know if it's the band doing this or if it's like the label itself saying, no, we want this song here. I don't know. We'll never
Well, the
really
album,
know.
the album broke, what was it, 126 on Billboard's Hot 200.
Right.
So, I mean, what the hell, I guess, do I know? Like,
Yeah.
but I mean, I think it was riding high on a lot of the other tracks. But yeah, I just think I like, when I listen to an album, I love a perfect bookended album. It starts off the way I want it to
Yep.
start off, finish the way I want it to finish.
I
I'm
agree.
greedy like that, and I love that. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
and it's a great song. I think, and
Yeah.
I want to hear them do some 3.5 to 4 minute, 4.5 minute songs. This one's over 5, which is good. And let them walk around a bit. And I like the kind of the vocalization of it a little bit different. I kind of like that. So, yeah.
Cool. So, would you guys say this is your favorite Nuclear Assault album?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
Guaranteed.
For 3, I figured that much.
Yeah. And this would be in easily like a top 20. I mean, one of these, I'm sure one of these shows we're going to do like our top 20 thrash albums, or we do it at the end of the year or whatever. I mean, we'll all come up with that, but this will definitely make many of our top 50, top 20, top whatever albums. I mean, we pick one from every, pick our favorites. This definitely would be up there for me.
Absolutely. I would agree with you. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely would be on my list up there for sure.
Yeah.
But they had a great sound. They had a really good logo. My only beef with them is they did not have good album covers. They started out with Ed Repka on Game Over, and the second album, that cover is all right. I don't know who that artist was, but they started out well, and then from there it just I don't know. Not a fan of the album covers. That's my only beef with this band, and it's too bad because I think they have the overall package to be solid.
Yeah.
Yep, that makes sense.
Whatever.
Okay. So before we jump to our live shows, anything else? Any last words?
No, I think this is a really good band. I think they're an important band because they're coming out of the New York scene, and they were overshadowed by Anthrax. Let's face it, Anthrax
Yeah.
got all the accolades, and Nuclear Assault did not. And they're interchangeable because Luker played in both bands. So yeah, I would just say that they were definitely overshadowed by Anthrax for sure, and it's too bad because they for the most part they're a solid band, a solid thrash band.
Yeah, and I think they're definitely, they represent the East Coast thrash movement really, really well. You said it 100%. I mean, yes, there's some intertwining there with Anthrax and that, and which means there'd be a little bit with probably SOD, but that's this is the sound of the East Coast. I mean, we all live kind of more Eastern, and we want to have good representation. I think they represent the East Coast really well, and they're definitely a rung on the stool, or a leg on the stool of East Coast thrash and metal for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Guaranteed.
Cool. Okay, so off to concert experiences / memories. Anything you guys want to share? Something that sticks out for you? 10 shows. Who wants to go first?
I will.
Okay, you go first, Jim.
Mine might be a little more bland because obviously I'm in the I don't live in the asshole of the world, but I can see it from here. Oh, just kidding. But anyway, so number 10, I did them in order because I wanted to really, and some of them I got years for, and some of them don't. So I got a tie for number 10, and that would be 2009 Stone Temple Pilots. This would have been the last tour before Waylon died, I think. So this was the last show on that tour, actually.
Yeah.
And they had a big kind of cake and stuff like that they threw around on stage. Melissa Oftemer I think she's from, was she from Smashing Pumpkins, I think? She opened for them. I think that's who it is. Yeah. Anyways, but tied with 2006, I got to see Guns N' Roses, which was really cool. I mean, I've seen Guns N' Roses, which is going to come up farther in my, during their heyday, but this was a really good show. And the reason why is because the two opening bands, I can't even remember who they were. I think one was Die Mannequin, I think it was called. Anyways, I didn't even go, but he came. they started the concert was supposed like the show for Guns N' Roses was supposed to come on, I think, between 9:30 and 10. Didn't come on till almost 1 o'clock in the morning.
Of course.
I drove home, or I got to drive home because they stopped serving booze and everything, and it was just so delayed. I got home and the sun was coming up. It was pretty cool, though, I got to admit. And they put on a great show. At that point, Buckethead was there. You know, he had his
Oh yeah,
KFC on
love
his head.
Buckethead. Yeah.
It was kind of cool. But anyways, number 9, except this is back in the day. So I think this would have been 85 or late 84. I can't remember. Except Crocus and Rough Cut. Those three, they I don't even think they sold 3,000 tickets. They played on the Metro Center, but it was a wicked show. Got to see Udo, classic Accept lineup. So that was really cool. That would have been one of my 3rd or 4th concerts to go see. So that was pretty cool. Number 8, Iron Maiden. And they're on here a couple times. Believe it or not, No Prayer for the Dying tour. That would have been, I went and saw because Anthrax opened up for them.
Yep, I saw that show.
For the Persistence of Time tour. And I think Anthrax, that was the only time I've seen Anthrax, and they were amazing.
Yep.
So, and I think Iron Maiden's gear, we had gotten a hurricane a few days earlier, and their gear was delayed. So they had to use gear from, I mean, they had all their instruments and stuff, but they had to use, it was kind of a scaled down show because of it. Anthrax had their gear, because I think they came up from the US. And anyways, so it was a little more scaled down, but it was pretty cool. And even though the album isn't one of my favorites, it still was a great show. Number 7 was I saw Metallica in 2011, and this would have been an outdoor concert on the hill. I don't know, there must have been 30,000 people there. Coheed and Cambria opened for them, Protest the Hero, and I think Cancer Bats. So there was kind of a weird, but they put on a great show, and that was the last time I've seen Metallica. I've seen them 3 times. I saw them as well with the Black Album, but I didn't put that on here. But that was a really good show. I was
Protest the Hero.
It was really neat.
Pretty good. It's a good band.
Yeah.
Did you like that band?
Which one?
Protest the Hero.
Oh yeah, they were amazing. Yeah. My buddy I went with is a huge Protest fan, and I mean I got into them prior to the show. Yeah, they're great band. And Coheed and Cambria, I think one of the members got arrested a few nights earlier, breaking in, or a couple weeks earlier, breaking into a drugstore somewhere along the way. So they had a new member. Anyways, I wasn't that keen on them as much. But number 6, I got to see Slayer in 2004 with Damage Plan. So that was pretty cool. That was a great show. That was the first time I saw Slayer. Number 5 will be Slayer, Megadeth, and Testament 2010 for the 30th anniversary of Rust in Peace and Seasons. So this was the one I was supposed to see Machine Head. I think Suicide Silence might have been there as well, or to one of the Slayer shows. Might have been the one with Damage Plan. They were on first, but Machine Head had to cancel, and Testament jumped in. So that was definitely a bonus in my book. That was really cool. Number 4, Motorhead in 2005, their 30th anniversary show. And what was really good about this, they didn't play a huge venue. It was only like a 2,000 seater at the Civic Center, and it was really kind of up close and personal. That was a wicked show. Number 3 would be Maiden again on the Seventh Son tour. At first time I saw GNR, this would have been 1987, I think. And Guns N' Roses, 88. And Guns N' Roses didn't even know who they were.
Yep.
And I still remember the guy came out and said, from the gutters of Hollywood, Guns and fucking Roses. And they ripped into It's So Easy. And I just stood there like I was in grade 11 or whatever. And I was like, holy cow, these guys are amazing. And then Axl Rose, just before knocking on Heaven's Door, picked a fight with the guy in the crowd, jumped in. And it was just like, these guys are wicked. And who's this Slash guy? And I bought the shirt with the girl on it being kind of fondled by the robot there. Anyways, it was really, really cool. That was an awesome one. My number 2 is the Justice tour for Metallica with Queensryche opening, and they opened for their, I think it would have been Operation Mindcrime, their best album, one of their best albums. They put on a really good show, kind of a weird pairing. I really didn't get the pairing. I would have that was kind of like, but it was really, really good. And the Justice tour, I mean, that was amazing. That was the first time I saw Metallica, and I mean, a huge Metallica fan. That just blew my mind. But my number one, my first concert I ever went to, 1984, Iron Maiden, Power Slave. Twisted Sister opened for Stay Hungry, and there was so much controversy around the show. The mayor was trying to get them banned, and they brought on all this riot police with riot gear, and it was, my parents drove us there, and I think my buddy's parents picked us up. And we had this contingent plan if we had to go running out, and they were worried about, they wanted to put a curfew in, and nothing happened. It was a really good show. But for some reason, the conservative, group here in Halifax really didn't want Iron Maiden coming into town. And anyways, they were really worried. I think maybe the year earlier at an April Wine concert, there was some damage done to the ferries by fans, so they were really worried about this. And if you go on YouTube, you just have to put it in Iron Maiden Halifax 1984, and you watch the whole news program. It's really cool. It's like the riot that was supposed to happen and it never did. So, and I mean, I measure every show I see against that show. Iron Maiden in their prime. Twisted Sister, I mean, what an album that was. And just when I left that concert, I don't know, I was just a skinny teenager. I left that concert, I went into that concert a boy, I came out a man.
Nice.
Oh yeah, it was awesome. So those are my top 10, with 2 tied for number 10 there. Awesome groups.
Cool. Yeah, it's always fun to listen to other people's shows, for sure. So Ken, over to you.
All right. So it was kind of hard because there's a lot of, I've seen so many shows. I'm almost forgetting some of these shows now because I've seen so many over the years. But number 10, I'll start with Dio during the Lock Up the Wolves tour with Malmsteen and Killer Dwarfs. August 16th, 1990 at C&E Grandstand, which is now BMO Field. But great show. I mean, all 3 of these bands are perfect for each other because they're all great metal acts, all kind of like metal fantasy lyrics. Love it.
So jealous, man. Dio.
It was good. It was a good show, man. I love Malmsteen. I was so into Malmsteen when he came out. It was like, I mean, I like Dio too, but I mean, Lock Up the Wolves was an album I really, really liked when that came out.
Great album.
In the 90s. Yeah. Great show. Number 9, I'm putting Testament's Dark Roots of the Earth, February 18th at the Phoenix, 2013. I love that album. I love that tour. Flotsam and Jetsam and Forearm opened up for them. Flots was awesome. Flots was incredible. I love Flots. They had so much energy and vibe. This is a show that Chuck was actually sick. He sang the show, but he was sick.
Wow.
I remember I made a couple comments and the people were bitching about it because I got in as a press pass for the show. But anyways, it was still a good show. Testament are great. I have nothing bad to say about Testament.
So Ken, we would have been walking around there at that same show together, but
I know, yeah, I didn't know
idea who each other were. So
I know it's so funny. Yeah, it's weird how that. It's weird. Number 8 is not so much metal, but this was a show. Well, it's a band that I love, and that's King Crimson. This is Robert Fripp and Adrian Belew. So it wasn't really Crimson, but it was kind of Crimson because you got 2 members of the band playing a show, and it was called Alone, an Evening of Space Music at the Phoenix, January 14th, 1998. I was right at the front, me and Rich. Rich was with me. Because he's a big Crimson fan too. We were both at the front of the stage. We were enthralled because, Fripp, he basically sits on a chair and plays guitar. And that guy, wow, the way he works the fretboard, awesome show. It was one of the best shows I've ever seen. I love Fripp. He's such a great musician. But that was a really good show. Number 7 is going to be the Slayer Megadeth Testament show, as it's called, the American Carnage tour.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that at the Molson Amphitheater, July 29th, 2010. Great show. And it's kind of sad because it was the last time you got a chance to see to see what's his name from Slayer before he passed
Oh,
away.
Hanneman.
Anime, yes, thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, so it was like it's kind of sad, but that was a good show. Testament again,
Yeah.
they're a great band. They were opening, they were killer. They were just, I mean, yeah, they played about 8 songs, but it was killer. Like
Oh, yeah.
they wow, it was a really good show. I had a good time with that show. Number 6, I'm going back now, 1989. December 31st. This is New Year's Eve at the Sky Dome.
Wow.
Alice Cooper.
Oh.
What a fucking show that was. And Great White opened the show. Cooper played 21 songs. Beautiful. Trashes the World tour. I loved it.
Saw that tour. Saw it with Great
Did you
White.
saw it too? Yeah,
Yeah.
that
Would
was
have been
I
in
love
early
that.
January for us. Yeah.
Yeah. I saw it on New Year's Eve. What a show. What a show. I mean, I love Coop. Coop is one of my favorites. And yeah, it's like a total horror metal show. It's like you get it all. The chopping off the head, like the guillotine. It's all there. What a show. That guy could put on an amazing show. Great. Number 5 is Monster Magnet. Again, another one of my all-time favorite bands. Power Trip. I saw it at the Opera House July 17th, 1998. The only thing about this show is that the 2 opening bands were Far and Second Coming, who I had no idea who they were. So I kind of went in going, okay. And they were all right. But when Monster Magnet hit the stage, oh, Power Trip. Rich came with me. Rich and I went and saw it. He's a huge Monster Magnet fan as well. So great show. I love that band. Dave Windorf is one of my favorites. Then number 4 is the Celtic Frost Monotheist Tour. September 18th, 2006 at the Opera House. Now, this is funny because I wasn't going to go. I was a last-minute decision because I had other plans that day, and they fell through. So I'm like, okay. So I was able to get a ticket. I got there late, so I didn't even see the opening act. I just got there when Frost came on stage. What a show. What an incredible show. That to me was like tears in my eyes because it was the first time I'm seeing Frost. And I love Frost, and it's such a great show. That's one of my favorite albums too. So great. And then at number 3, I have Iron Maiden. That was as you saw, Jim, the seventh tour of the 7 tour show.
Yeah.
CNE Grandstand, 1988, May 20th. I just graduated high school at the time when this came out, so it's kind of funny. So it was actually a graduation present for my parents. Here's tickets to Iron Maiden. Beautiful. Guns N' Roses came on the stage. I didn't know them either. And all I know is that for 20 minutes, Axl Rose just swore everything. Like every word came out of his mouth, even before he sang the first note.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck? Who is this guy? It was just so sublime. Like this guy just comes out just weird.
And you know what, Ken? I remember him saying to the crowd in Halifax, he goes, Iron Maiden's lucky to have us opening for them. I was like, what a dick. Man, it's Iron Maiden, And I was like, I wanted to wring his skinny neck, but then he won me over.
He took a couple shots at Iron Maiden too, but he won me over too because I really liked when they got the Don't Come Knocking on Heaven's Door. Great. And these guys are great. They're great live back then, even though he was a bit of a dick, but that's beside the point. And then number 2, I've seen this, Anthrax Among the Living. I saw this at the Elmo Combo, 1987, July 30th. What an incredible show this was. So on this show, they did play Among the Living. They played Caught in the Mosh. They did play On the Law. They did Indians, and they did NFL. So they did 11 songs, and that's all they played off from that. But that show was insane. Like that mosh pit, I remember it. It was absolutely insane. People were just going nuts. But that was a great show. And the Elmo Combo is not a very big club. It's really small. So you can imagine that sound in there. Oh, I couldn't hear for days. I had that buzzing in my ears. So
wow.
I just couldn't get it out for days. But great show. I'll never forget it.
I played in such a small venue. They were pretty popular then, no?
Yeah.
I think they were just starting to get really big shows. I think that Among the Living was the start of it for them. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not too sure why it was at the Elmo Combo either, but
you would think they'd at that point have no problem going to the Phoenix or any of those.
You would think, yeah, you would think so, but yeah, they were at the Elmo that year, which
weird.
Elmo. Yeah, you've been to the Elmo, haven't you, Billy?
Yeah. It's really close to my house.
Yeah, and it's really small. It's not a very big club.
Yeah, I mean it's not. Yeah, it's like a bar. I almost you'd call it. Yeah.
but it's also famous, right? Because the
Yeah,
Stones
no,
played
it's famous.
there, Bowie. So I can see why maybe they would play there, because back then it's a very very famous club for all the bands that played there. But I don't know. And then number one, it's got to be the Metallica's Damage Justice tour with Queensryche.
Yeah.
Maple Leaf Gardens, April 7th, 1989.
Yeah.
You
What a
even
show
got
this
your
was.
exact dates down.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. I got the dates down. I figured if I'm talking about a show, I might as well at least get the actual date right. But this show was amazing. Like
Yeah.
I was on the floor 6 rows back. So I mean, I was
Wow.
deaf. I was practically deaf because Queensryche, they had such an incredible sound. Like those guitars and the drums, it just came right at you. It was incredible. And Metallica were amazing. I just loved it. And as I mentioned before, that the whole big ending when Lady Justice comes crashing
Yeah.
down. Wow, I was blown away by that show.
And
Although,
at Halifax, when they did a Last Caress, everybody rushed the stage. It was
yeah,
amazing. Yeah.
yeah. I think I remember that happening at the Toronto show too. They were
Wow.
great. I mean, it was an awesome show. It was like I was jazzed. When I left there, I was so pumped. My
Yep.
buddies and my brothers came with us, so we were all so jazzed up. We just left that show. We went home, and I couldn't hear for days. I mean, I had the
Yeah.
buzzing in my ears for days. I remember getting together with my buddies on Saturday, and we were like, I fucking can't fucking hear, because it was just so freaking loud. And Metallica, you're getting them at the tops of their career, right?
Oh yeah.
Like it's such a great show. But that's probably the concert I remember the most was Metallica. I was so excited. I remember lining up to get those tickets too, because I remember back then, us old
Yeah.
farts, we had to line up for tickets.
No internet.
Yeah, no
Overnight.
internet. So I had to go to Sunrise Records in Scarborough, line up, and I got there at like I think 6 in the morning. There was already a lineup at 6 a.m. So I waited in line, and I finally got the tickets, and I bought all the tickets for my buddies and my brothers, and yeah, we had a great time. But it was a great show, one of my favorites.
Great stories.
Well,
Yeah,
hell
yeah,
yeah.
that was a great one. I don't have it on my list, but yeah, that's a good.
Well, your list. Holy shit! I can't. This is gonna be wow.
Yeah, go for it, Billy.
The yeah, so this is tough for me. Like if I include festivals, like this year I'm gonna do 7 or 8, and I'll see anywhere from 25 to 40 bands. So this year alone, if I count each of those shows a concert, it'll be like 200. And so every year, including festivals, it's easily over 150 shows a year. So I didn't do what's the best. Some of these are the best, but they're memorable for some reason, and that's why I selected them. And in one case, it's not even a band I'm a big fan of, but the show itself was so memorable that it stuck with me. Um, so yeah, these are not in any particular order. So we'll start off with 2015 at Wacken Open Air, the Sabotage reunion.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So I think I've talked about this before, so I won't go crazy, but it's essentially the two giant stages at Wacken Open Air. They're both live. I mean, on the left you had Sabotage, both John and Zach singing, and they did their set of all their old stuff. Then right beside it, TSO comes on. You got two live stages, bigger than anything I've ever seen in Canada. That's for sure. The shows are perfectly in sync. You got like John doing a vocal line on one stage, and then it flips to the TSO, and one of them are doing it. It just literally, it was just synced to perfection. And I've never seen anything like that before. A band that performs over two massive stages flawlessly. So it's from a spectacle perspective, it's the best show I ever saw. But the band itself was pretty damn good too. So
Mm-hmm.
number two for me, I'm gonna go Voivod on the Nothing Face tour.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
So for me, it's a bit of a hometown thing. So seeing them, the Montreal Spectrum, which was a great venue. We had two venues you're going to hear about in Montreal for metal bands, the
for
Spectrum
that.
and Le Fafoon Electric. Pretty
Okay.
much every major metal band in the world knows Fafoon. That's where they would have started. It's a smaller club. Yeah, so selected Voivod Spectrum holds about 1,000, but it was just one of those things. It stuck with me because it's a Quebec band, and I'm from Montreal, and so it was a chat. It's my favorite Voivod album. To get to see Piggy, I was right up there at the front of the
Oh,
stage, just staring at Piggy all night playing. It was just so memorable, and this is a bit of a package deal because later that year they jumped on at the Montreal Forum, seeing them Voivod play a hockey arena because they were opening for Rush. Uh,
That's right.
so yeah, that whole
cool.
year, like that Voivod tour was something special, right?
Yeah.
So number three for me, I'm gonna go Death. Spiritual healing tour, 1990 again at Le Fafun. Again, because it's Death. I only got to see them.
Oh,
This is
Yeah,
the
it's
first
cool.
time I ever saw them. Uh, again, I wish I remembered a lot more in detail. I wish we had cell phones back then where I would have had a bit of it. But like I do remember spending like half of it right up. Like at Fafoon, it had a stage that was elevated, but no
Mhm.
barriers. So you would
Okay.
stand up at the stage, your arms would be resting on the stage. And like
Wow.
literally the band's like right in front of you. So yeah, that was really cool. Spent about half the time there and half the time in the mosh pit because back in the late 80s, early 90s, I definitely spent my share of time in mosh pits, which is a
Mhm.
memorable thing for me because I'm too damn old for that crazy now. Another one for me is my number four show I'm going to mention, 2013 Wacken Open Air, and this is a sad story. So it's Motorhead. This
Okay.
is when Lemmy was very sick. Uh,
Oh.
Lemmy loves Motorhead. It's probably Germany's his favorite place, one of his favorite places, and he insisted on performing. The band comes out on stage. I mean, Lemmy looked. He was just he was emaciated. There was like nothing to him. He was skin and bones, and you could tell there was something going on. He didn't look right. And in between songs, the band was doing like extended solos to try to give him time to rest. He would disappear like in back and not come back for a bit. But like after five songs, like he literally just walked off and never came back.
Oh,
He
wow.
he couldn't even stand up anymore. So the whole Wacken organizers had to come out and apologize and and say, look, he gave his best, and there was no doubt. I mean, the man, he was so sick standing there. Like I don't know how he even did five songs, but again, nothing but respect, right? He's a man who
Yeah.
lived and died for metal, and
Yep.
this show is exactly the example of that. So
wow.
again, it didn't turn out to be a fun show, a great show, but I'll tell you one thing, one of the most memorable shows I've ever seen
Mhm.
for that reason. Uh, so then I'm jumping to I don't know, Ken, you may have been at this show. I don't know. This is one at the Phoenix in Toronto, Cannibal Corpse.
Yep. Okay.
Uh,
Wait, what
uh,
year?
so this would have been I don't remember the tour because it was more about the crazy events of the show, but it would have been 14 or 15. Like so, I don't know.
Oh, yes, I remember. Yeah, I think it was 2015.
Okay, so this was
Phoenix.
so people wouldn't know this, but I work in Toronto in banking. So unfortunately, pre-COVID, it's all suit and ties. So
Yeah.
typically I'm somebody who would run home and get changed, but being stuck at work, there was just no way to do it. So I actually went to see Cannibal Corpse in a suit and tie, and it was one of those things. I did get there a little bit early. I went to the pub around the corner and probably had too many beers. So I showed up there, and yeah, everyone was like staring at me. But the cool thing is everyone was coming up and saying, like they thought it was amazing that a suit would love Cannibal Corpse, right? I mean, these people that these corporate people who should never like Cannibal Corpse, and I was right up there at the front. I was headbanging, like I was like on the side of the mosh pit, like pushing people, and here I am with the suit and tie. And the best part was at one point, Corpse Grinder basically he points over to me in between the song, and what's with this guy with the suit?
Oh, I remember that.
So like
I
that
remember that, Billy.
that was like really funny, really memorable. Like people were giving me like
Yeah,
their phone number because
yeah, yeah.
like they were young students and they found out I worked for a bank and they're like, "Can you help me?" Like it was just such a crazy event. And I had like I think I ripped the crotch of my suit because I slipped on the beer. Like it was just like
Oh
chaos
my
that
gosh.
day, but a complete shit show. But it was so much fun. Like so, it stuck in my head. So now I'm going back to Montreal, 1990, again at this legendary club, Le Fafun. And this is, this would definitely rank up there if I ordered them. Sepultura on Beneath the
Oh
Remains,
yeah.
Oh,
Obituary,
nice.
Cause of Death, and Sadist on Swallowed in Black.
Wow.
Uh,
Wow, that's a
just
great one.
literally take three bands in their absolute peak form, and in my opinion, they were never better. They still perform to this day, but none of them were as good as that 1990. And we had this
Wow.
debate, I guess, with our
Cool.
rookies. But again, this small club, here I am, like at the club, like these guys are sweating on me. Like it's just like, yeah, it's so memorable, and it just stuck in my head. And to this day, those three albums would be on like my top 10 albums. So again, memorable for so many reasons. Number seven, I gotta have Slayer. We already talked about the farewell tour, so I'm not gonna do that. I picked 1988 South of Heaven tour
Oh,
Wow.
with Motorhead and Overkill. Saw them in a smaller hockey arena, literally a couple blocks from my house, the Verdun Auditorium.
Verdun.
That's where I grew up and was born. So that was really cool. And that was like right in my moshing period, right? Like I still remember, I definitely would have been moshing the whole thing. I was exhausted. And that minute Angel of Death came on, it was the last thing they played. It just reinvigorated everybody. All hell broke loose. Like it was just, again, that again would be like another one of my top shows. And funny enough, they repeated the exact same thing a couple years later for what was that? The Seasons tour with
Mhm.
Testament doing Souls of Black, same venue, equally fun show. So could have picked either. Number eight. I'm sorry if I'm talking too much here. Number eight. I'm going back to my first Whackin' Ever 2011. Memorable because everything I had seen in Canada was small clubs. And here I am, my first trip outside of North America, and I'm standing on a field in Germany with like, back then we probably only had 60,000 people, but that was that memory. And I'm gonna pick the Creator Show because back then it was one of my favorite bands, and it was a local hometown band, and to just experience that with that many people so far from home, so memorable. Like, yeah, and I've been to Wacken every year since. That's how memorable it was. Number nine. So here's a band I'm not even a big fan of. Wacken 2013, Rammstein.
oh
Uh,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
something was going on here. There was a vibe at Wacken that I've never seen before or ever since. I mean, these people, all they would talk about is Rammstein. That was it.
Hmm.
Like they were like probably 10, 18-wheeler trucks all through the Wacken grounds. And everyone was buying like 6, 7 t-shirts at a time.
Wow.
And it was funny because after the show, like there was still one more day, like 30% of the audience was gone. And that never happens, but they were all there for Rammstein. And I'm not the biggest fan, but this show was spectacular. The loudest show I've ever heard in my life. To this day, like, I just kept stepping backwards because my ears were killing me. Uh, but yeah, just a crazy. I mean, the keyboard player is on a treadmill for the whole like 90 minutes, playing his keyboard on a treadmill. The fireworks, the shit exploding everywhere. The uh,
Wow.
and it just everybody's standing there like in a trance, like on that field in the middle of the night. And I just couldn't help but be absorbed by it all. And I didn't even want to go. I wasn't going to go. Uh, and I'm like, well, hell, I'm already here. And this is the headliner. So let me go for a song. And I was riveted to that stage for the whole thing. So that kind of stuck with me. And one more. Another unique festival, 70K tons of metal. I'm gonna pick 2020 and Exodus, the last show of the 70K festival on top of a cruise ship in the middle of the Caribbean. So that's crazy enough, but it was like a bad storm that year. And so the ship is going up and down, severe winds. We're out on the upper deck, all on the outside like Exodus, everybody's hair is going in the same direction, like nonstop for the whole hour. And they did bonded by blood from beginning to end.
Ooh.
So just memorable because of the atmosphere, memorable because you're in the middle of the Caribbean on a cruise ship, memorable because the album was so damn good and the band was great, and memorable because it was the last show I saw before COVID closed everything a couple
Yeah.
later. So those are 10, not necessarily 10 of the best, but 10 that always stick in my memory for some reason.
Okay.
Wow.
Cool. Awesome.
Um, okay, so yeah, I think we're probably running along. So we'll probably wrap that up. So yeah, that wraps up this episode of Thrashcast. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Again, just a quick reminder, if you could subscribe, that'll help us out quite a bit. Next week we have the band Prong and their album Beg to Differ from 1990. And some of you might know that the three of us have written or still write to some degree for a site called the Metal Pit. So one of the other writers there, his name's Jason. Ken may have mentioned him last week. This is one of his favorite albums. So he's going to join us. So we're going to be four
Nice.
people next week.
Yep.
So yeah, that'll be different. Get some another view of things. So yeah, that's it. So thanks both Ken and Jim for joining in. Uh,
Yep.
Thanks everybody for tuning in yet again, and we'll see you next week with Prong. Have a good night.
Good night.